I am, so passionate to just keep continuing to spread the word of so much success that, through my almost 14 and a half years now of eating a carnivore diet, and coaching through most of that, can just see the build up that this has been going through because of so many successes of people really relieving themselves of serious health issues and, dropping weight, getting metabolically healthy, because that's really what it's all about, is getting metabolically healthy. And we want to try to prevent strokes, Alzheimer's, cancer, diabetes, you name it. It's really important that we pay attention, because we're not told that we're committing slow suicide when we eat all that toxic poison. It's the sugars, the grains, the seed oils, the processed foods are just so incredibly addictive and so incredibly damaging over a period of time, because that's the big problem with this. With drugs, heroin, alcohol, you have a pretty immediate penalty when you overdo it, and you have a risk of killing somebody, dying, overdosing, all that. But with this whole sugar, carb, garbage food, standard American diet, I like to call the standard atrocious diet, the SAD, there's really no forewarning. And people are just, everything surrounds food, social, holidays, when you're out with coworkers, business meetings, it's food, food, food. And a lot of restaurant foods all have the canola, soybean oil, cottonseed oil, palm oil that they're cooked in. People say, oh, well, I don't eat seed oils. Well, maybe you don't go to the grocery store and buy a bottle of Crisco, but sure enough, if you're eating standard food, anything pretty much that comes in a box, a bag, a bottle, or a jar is going to have these toxic oils, which really take about over 6 years to clear out of your system when you stop. And I see you just pulled out Dr. Kenobi's amazing book, The Ancestral Diet Revolution. I love it. Because one of my passions as an eye doctor, and also my own father suffered very debilitating vision loss from macular degeneration, because I couldn't convince my own parents to do this crazy way of life. And nobody wants to believe me that you have to stop eating mayonnaise and salad dressing and not getting, fried calamari at the restaurant, because it's all so incredibly toxic. It stores in your body. And if anybody, listens to Dr. Kenobi's presentations, that there's many of them on YouTube now, and his amazing book, and he's got a great website, cureamd.org. It's all for him trying to devote his time and knowledge to spread it, that people understand that he's 1000% convinced it is from seed oils. That's the thing in the last 100 years that has so exponentially increased, that has been causing really the downfall of our population.
Yeah, he does such a convincing job in this book as well. We were fortunate enough to host him again, so he could come on and kind of explain, the things that he had discovered with all his research, which is years and years and years he's been researching this. And he makes a really compelling case in that book that it is the seed oils and not necessarily the sugar. And it's a really interesting point. And we can get caught up in semantics and to try to determine which one it is. They flow together. If you're having one, you're going to have the other. And I was just talking to a sugar addiction specialist not long ago, Tia Reed, who came on our show, and I said, okay, here's the deal. If you tell me cocaine and heroin are addictive, I don't really have a problem, because at this stage of my life, like, I don't have a guide. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where to find it. It's probably around somewhere, but I can't really get it. If you tell me sugar is addictive, there's a huge problem, because I can find it everywhere at every store. Yesterday at the park at 10:30 in the morning, a food truck pulls up and parks and starts setting up donut kebabs. Whatever the hell donut kebabs is, can't be great. It's delicious, amazing, incredible food that is poisoning everybody, and you can find it. It's everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's why I find that I know a few people who have really resolved themselves of drug addiction, cigarette addiction, alcohol addiction, and a bulimic heavy food addiction. And they said by far the other three were so simple compared to the food addiction. And it's really because there's triggers everywhere. I mean, you walk into a grocery store, before you get 2 steps into the very first door that opens up, from floor to ceiling, there's, the jalapeno kettle chips, the crispiest you'll ever have, and then the other thing is the bakery's got a whole display wafting the aroma of the baked goods. And it's like, you don't have a fighting chance at this point when you're an addict, so it's really difficult. And that's why I'm very strongly in favor of having groups and having community, because it's so not easy to do this by yourself, because your friends and family, they're all like laughing and enjoying the food and just having fun. And, it's not until you potentially get into your 50s, 60s, 70s where it really has now struck you. If you're lucky enough to have gotten obese from it or gotten a disease young enough, like Michaela Peterson, and you search for the answer soon enough, then you have a good shot of at least having, but most people are really at the point where you don't realize it, but you keep eating this stuff and eventually it's going to catch up. And most people say, oh, don't get old. This happens when you get old. And they accept these things as just kind of diseases of old age. And I say, no, I'm going to be hiking a mountain when I'm 70. Like, this is not appropriate. Arthritis is from inflammation. And we could say, so I do listen to his whole presentation about how he mainly has pinpointed it to seed oils and not specifically necessarily the sugar. But like you said, a lot of times it goes hand in hand. It's the churros and the cookies. It's like, it's fat and sugar, right? And that's the combination of salt, fat, and sugar makes things so incredibly addictive. Aside from the fact that they have addiction specialists on staff at these food companies to purposely do this, it's really kind of crazy. But I think that sugar itself is inflammatory and addictive. And whether it's the seed oils actually causing the cellular damage, which there's some real powerful graphics that you could look at and watch and see that when these seed oils get into the wall of our cellular membrane and disrupt it and inflame it, and the fact that they stay there for so long, it's got a half-life of like I don't know, 2 or 3 years. I forget now. I keep hearing different numbers.
660 days or something.
Yeah, and basically 6 years down the road, if you stop eating it today, 6 years, you pretty much have a pretty good shot of having most of it cleared out. But
yeah, it's crazy.